Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining me today because we are going to completely demystify the world of graphic design. We literally encounter it every single day, right? From the apps on our phones to the massive billboards on our morning commute. But it's so much more than just a decorative layer. Graphic design is a remarkably powerful form of visual communication. And today, we're going to break down exactly how it works, tracing it from its fundamental roots all the way to its wild AI-driven future. So right off the bat, let's tackle a really fundamental question. What actually makes design different from art? It's super easy to blur the lines and just assume that graphic design is all about, making things look pretty. But we need to immediately shift our perspective to really grasp design's true function. Well, think of it like this. Art, it's all about subjective expression. It asks questions, it provokes feelings, and it's deeply tied to the artist's internal world. Design, on the other hand, is visual communication with a very specific purpose. It contrasts totally with art because its core job is organizing complex information and solving problems to deliver a highly clear message to a specific audience. It is functional first and aesthetic second. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit 4 main stops. 1, the foundation, 2, the framework, 3, the toolkit, and finally, 4, the future. Let's dive right in. Starting us off with section 1, the foundation, where we're defining graphic design. All right, before we get into the weeds, let's define our terms. Timothy Samara hit the nail on the head here. He essentially points out that the fundamentals of graphic design are about seeing and understanding how visual qualities, things like shapes, images, colors, and typography, all work together. It's like a giant puzzle. It's about deciding which of these elements are actually relevant to solve a specific problem. It's totally deliberate, calculated, and purposeful. And you know that purpose? It goes way, way back. The drive to communicate visually stretches all the way to prehistoric cave paintings around 38,000 BC. Then, boom, we leap to the 15th century, and the Gutenberg printing press completely revolutionizes mass communication. Fast forward to the 19th century Industrial Revolution, which birthed modern advertising. And now, here we are, staring down 2026 with AI and digital automation. The tools have evolved phenomenally, from cave walls to complex algorithms. But that ultimate goal of clear visual communication, that remains entirely constant. Moving right along to section 2, the framework. These are the core principles of design. So how do we actually pull this off? Well, good graphic design always relies on some core structural principles. We're talking about composition, hierarchy, and harmony. Think of these as the invisible scaffolding for your message. Master these, and your design won't just look good. It will literally direct the viewer's brain. Let's break them down. First up is composition. Check out how balance works here. It distributes visual weight across the page. If the balance is off, the whole thing feels heavy on one side, almost like it's going to tip over, right? And whatever you do, don't ignore white space. That's the area without any text or pictures. It is absolutely crucial because it gives your design room to breathe. It builds a stable structure so your eye can actually focus on what's important rather than just being overwhelmed by a bunch of visual noise. Then we have visual hierarchy, which is really just establishing a clear order of importance. By using scale, making the important stuff larger, and contrast, the designer totally controls your journey. It tells you exactly what to look at first, then second, then third. Without it, the viewer is just completely lost. And finally, harmony. Do all these different pieces actually belong together? Harmony ensures that everything appears to be perfectly in sync. We get there through unity, making sure colors and shapes relate to each other, and repetition, which builds consistency and brand recognition. It's what takes a random collection of parts and makes them feel like a single, unified message. All right, section 3, the toolkit. We're looking at color theory and typography. Okay, so we have the framework, but we need the actual instruments to build it. I absolutely love this quote from Jan White regarding color. He says, "The real value of color is intellectual, not decorative. It must not be used to dazzle, but to enlighten." Wow, that is so important. Proper color application isn't just about picking your favorite shade. It's a psychological communication tool. It has real dignity and purpose. But quick reality check before we get deep into psychology. You have to know your medium. There is a massive, critical difference between designing for digital screens and designing for physical print. RGB, which is red, green, and blue, is for digital screens. It's light-based. CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and key, which is black, is for printed materials. It relies on ink. Actually, scrap that. If you don't remember anything else, remember this. Mixing these up is exactly how you end up printing a dark, muddy poster when it looked perfectly bright and vibrant on your laptop. Trust me. It happens. Okay, so back to the psychology. Our brains are basically hardwired to react to color. Cool hues like blues and greens, they relax us. Warm hues like reds and oranges, they excite us. And it gets even deeper. Highly saturated colors pump up the excitement, while high value, which means lighter, brighter colors, actually chills us out. Designers can be incredibly strategic with this. Imagine combining high value and high saturation in a tourism ad to make you feel both relaxed and excited at the exact same time. It's kind of a superpower. Our other essential tool is typography. Basically, typography is the strategic arrangement of type to make text readable and visually appealing. Think of it as the tone of voice for your writing. A heavy, bold font is practically shouting at you, while a delicate script is whispering. The goal here is to honor the message and make reading effortless and engaging, without the font itself ever becoming a visual distraction. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 4, the future, AI and 2026 trends. Now, those foundational principles we talked about, they aren't changing, but how we execute them, that is undergoing a total revolution. AI tools like Midjourney, Daily, and Adobe Firefly are completely shaking up the day-to-day workflow. They're stepping in to automate the tedious stuff, removing backgrounds, generating initial sketches. And this doesn't replace the designer. Rather, it frees them up to actually focus on high-level creative strategy and complex problem solving. And because of that, the skills we need are shifting dramatically. Traditional stuff like manual sketching and standard software proficiency are being augmented by a whole new toolkit. In the AI era, designers need to be adept at algorithm-driven prompt engineering and advanced data interpretation. The role is evolving from just being a pure creative executor to being the strategic innovator who directs the AI. It's a whole new ballgame. Just look at this. AI's raw power is staggering. These are highly detailed, incredibly varied cafe concepts. A few years ago, generating even one of these immersive environments would have taken countless hours of 3D modeling and rendering. Now, an AI-assisted designer can rapidly iterate these complex ideas in a fraction of the time. It allows designers to pivot and adapt to client feedback almost instantaneously. But here is the absolute wildest twist to all of this. As our tools get more highly advanced and artificial, Adobe's 2026 trend forecast shows we're actually craving the exact opposite. The upcoming trends, ironically, lean heavily away from cold, high-tech looks. Instead, the trend is all our senses to the max, featuring puffy, tactile textures. There is this huge push for organic, imperfect, hand-drawn designs. The aesthetic is warm, personal, often using maximalist, slightly chaotic layouts. We are literally using the most advanced technology ever created to celebrate messy, analog human experiences. How crazy is that? So that wraps up our explainer today, but I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. In a world of effortless AI-generated perfection, how will your designs speak to our messy, glorious humanity? Because remember, graphic design isn't just about beautiful images. It's about powerful, purposeful communication. Take these principles, master these new tools, and use them to truly connect with people. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.